Welcome to the Kerry Barrett Show. I'm Kerry Barrett. Along with expert interviews about social media, about video marketing, and about video strategy, this podcast is the place that you'll come to learn to show up comfortably, confidently, and compellingly on camera so that you can leverage the lens for every single opportunity it can give you. That means social media, it means content creation, it means media opportunities, course creation, and audience visibility and growth. I overcame a debilitating fear of speaking to go on to a 25-year Emmy Award-winning on-camera career. But it's only when I realized the connection wasn't about perfection, but about realness and relatability that my success on camera and in my business soared. It's how I grew my brand online and in life. And this is where you will learn to do the same. So let's jump in. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Kerry Barrett Show. Our guest expert today is Ryan Harbison. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. So if you don't know Ryan, he is a personal branding expert. He is a messaging expert. He also works for a corporation and understands the importance of having a brand sort of beyond the four walls of your business. But I won't put words into your mouth, Ryan. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Thanks so much. So I'm with Robert Half. I'm out of the Philadelphia office. We're a global company, Fortune 500. My background is a little different though. I mean, I'm a tech marketing and branding guy for the majority of my career. I was a developer of video games for a long time, ran my software business with a couple of my friends and, did a lot of the branding and creating, personal brands for our business and then for myself as well. Transitioned into the print design and then into the full-on agency branding department of the world and kind of just always been in that tech and branding space for many years.
One of the things that you mentioned as it pertains to that, which is, part of what you do now, and certainly part of what you did in the past, is understanding who it is you're talking to, whether you're looking for your next opportunity, whether you're bringing somebody to you, or whether you are going out and creating something on your own. So let's start understanding how to use your brand and craft your message and bring it all together.
It's really two sides of the same coin. The personal brand element of yourself when you're working for someone is just kind of a plus on getting the messaging out there. So I think that people get lost in the art of social selling. So we're seeing a mass exodus off of Instagram right now because 50% of the platform is people just trying to sell stuff to you. I mean, we've got 24% of followers between 10,000 and 100,000, and then 26% have between 100,000 and a million. And a large percentage of that 50% are all affiliate people that are pushing some kind of product. I mean, scroll through your Instagram now, it's like 3 to maybe 4, and then you're going to get a sponsored ad. I mean, and then there's banners everywhere. I mean, it's getting out of control. So it's understanding where your audience lives. The way that we look at it is, who is your messaging going to? How can you utilize your personal brand with your personal contacts? And what platform stories are you telling based on who is on there? Say that I go to a restaurant and I know the owners. My story is going to be different on different platforms based on who my audience is. For instance, Facebook, I'm going to take a selfie with all my friends at the table. On Instagram, I'm going to take a picture of my food. LinkedIn, I'm going to take a picture with the owner. The twist on that is that when my personal brand is integrated into that, it helps bring awareness to people that have already been following me before I started working for the organization that I'm with now.
So how do you figure out, right? Your example was very clear, but when it comes to crafting what goes beyond that visual or understanding the language, for example, where do you start with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is picking one platform, honestly, because it's overwhelming between Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and Twitter, and the list goes on and on and on.
Clapper and Threads and
oh my God, it's endless, and
Reddit.
it's a full-time job. I mean, Twitter alone is just a full-time job because basically you're just text messaging with everybody in the world every day. Like, that's really what it comes down to. So I think first of it is understanding where you want to live in the platform. platforms. And that is the hardest part, because then what gets integrated into that is what is the type of content that you're putting out there. I think people get, especially, right, where a lot of the audience is probably at, is that it all has to be business content. And I think that is one of the key things that I push out all the time, is that LinkedIn is social media. You just have to know where it's at. Like, you can have fun on LinkedIn. It doesn't just have to be like, buy my book every post, right? Because no one's going to respond to that.
That doesn't work.
It does not work.
No.
I mean, we talked about this before. There's a big difference between educating people on what you do and hard selling to people.
Yeah.
Top to mind, first to mind, live in the feed. That's a big part of it. Low and slow, patience over greed. That's how it works. It takes time for this stuff to grow. So I think part of it is understanding what platform you want to be on. So LinkedIn is a different story. So what we want to do on LinkedIn is we want to do a couple things. Like, I have a big part of my LinkedIn presence is I like people to know who I am and my personality. So like, everyone has like 10 websites that they start their morning on. Now, those websites is content that you can put out online. It doesn't necessarily just have to be integrated into the industry that you're in. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I came from the video game. I came from the video game industry. I still play games. A lot of my content is based on tech and gaming. And that's just what I like. But now I'm also putting that out there and then using the companies and the corporations that I'm with to kind of tell a story based on the industries that I'm trying to get in front of. So I'm not always pushing out, the corporate content, but I'm putting it to the audience that I'm trying to bring into me, to check out my profile, to understand what I do, and then living in the comments. I mean, we'll talk about this later, but I mean, if you're not living in the comments right now on any of the platforms, you're missing out on people discovering you.
Okay, so let's actually jump into that right now, because I do think a lot of people think that the hard work is the post, and yes, that is difficult sometimes to come up with content ideas, and certainly it takes a little bit of research to understand what resonates with your audience. And you're right, it is not buy my book. That's not top of funnel type of stuff. We're talking about awareness, but the comments is where the actual gold is mine. In your mind, why commenting the actual work part of establishing a brand on social media, LinkedIn or otherwise?
Let's start about the analysis by paralysis by content, and then move into the comments, right? So content is king, engagement is queen. Okay. So the way I look at it is that this content is only as crazy as you want to live in your brain about it. You don't have to create like full-blown influencer videos online every day, trying to come up with new things that people aren't doing. There is an amazing thing. If you look at like the original beginnings of Barstool Sports on Instagram, how did they become super popular? They just shared everybody's stuff.
Yeah.
Utilize other people's content as your own. Okay.
There's nothing that's original anymore anyway.
No. I mean, there are people out there that have teams that spend millions, the Gary V's of the world, all the Shark Tank people, Simon Sayak, all these people. They want you to share their stuff.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with your content just being, kind of you kind of like are a go-to for a certain sliver of influencer content.
A syndicate.
That you kind of exactly you're going into syndication with this stuff, and like you're putting your own little bit. So I always say, don't do a blind share. So when you share it out, write a little 3 or 4 sentence blurb over top of how it is relevant to you and your situation. You have to live in the comments, and I'll tell you why. People discover you and get to know your personality better when you're living in the comments. If you can live in the comment on the comment on the comment stuff, that's great. And the best part about comments is that you can comment on anybody's stuff. You don't have to be connected to them to comment. And that's why it's important for your profiles on any of the platforms to be very well established. Like, you have a great picture, you have a good, if I go to your profile, I need to know what you're doing, because when we're in those comments, it's going to drive people to our pages.
Yeah, that profile needs to almost serve as like a little mini landing page, if you will.
100%. Yeah, it's like a hub for everything that you've got going on. And here's the best part about it: you can have great conversations in the comments, especially like if you have like people that are doing things with. So prime example, like once this goes online, like, and you're posting it, like you and I are going to dominate the comments on everybody's comments, and we're going to comment on everybody's comments, and we're going to comment together. because what that does is it allows us to be pushed up in the algorithm for free. So we're getting all this organic like eyeballs on all of us. You know, my audience is going to see it, your audience is going to see it, and it's going to grow, and it's going to kind of mix our audiences together, which is really what we want. But what's great now too is that I'm going to be in the comments commenting on people's stuff. I'm going to be checking out their profiles. They're going to be checking out my profile. We're going to be able to continue to grow the reach. Then when people share that stuff, now we've got not only I'm posting it, you're posting it. Now people are sharing it. So now we're going on the shares and we're commenting on the people's shares. So now we're talking to third connections that have zero people involved with us, but now are finding our content, are coming to our profile, all because we're living in the comments.
I let me just piggyback on that for a second to make this tangible. I'm working with somebody now who I've hired for copywriting and some other stuff based on exactly what you're telling me. I was on LinkedIn looking for somebody who could articulate my message well to my two different avatars, which has always been a struggle for me. There's a crossover, but the language is different. And I was trying to streamline that process. And I found somebody who had commented on somebody else's post who did exactly that. And I followed and I looked at the profile and I looked at what he did and I looked at his content. And then I'm like, I think this is a person I should talk to. And it started with simple messaging on LinkedIn, and now it's expanded to copywriting for the website, et cetera, et cetera. But my point is what you're saying is not abstract. It actually works.
Yeah, 100%. You can also use this in the hashtag game. So certain platforms utilize hashtags better than others. We all know Facebook is not great with hashtags.
Right.
LinkedIn has done a great job over the last 3 years to integrate hashtags into the platform. Instagram and Twitter were built on hashtags. So what's great about it, it's the $1.80 strategy, which is a classic Gary Vee. So it's 10 hashtags a day, 9 posts under those hashtags, and you're going to like, comment, and share on those actual hashtags. Now, those hashtags can be one of two things. It can be things that you're interested in and you're trying to get involved in a certain community. It can be an audience that you're trying to, be more involved with because you have a product that you're trying to push to them and you're trying to educate them on the low and slow patience over greed mentality, right? We're not going to just LinkedIn somebody, connect and go, good afternoon, sir, madam, I have a product that you would love to go by, see you later. But like, imagine if I find your profile on LinkedIn because we were in the comments together. I go on your LinkedIn page. I don't connect with you. I follow you. So now all your content that you like, comment, and share appears in my feed as if we were connected. Then I go into your activity and I start liking and commenting and sharing on all of your old posts. What happens is that you're going to come eventually and check out my profile. And now you can possibly be a client at some point, but it takes time for me to, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. And I'm creating opportunity by living in the comments.
Well, it's so smart. And I think a lot of times if you're not in that sort of like creator or personal brand mindset, you sort of think of LinkedIn, especially as an online resume or an online place to say, hey, Sally had great success. If you want results like Sally, call me. Like that's not how it works at all.
That's how LinkedIn was like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It's evolved.
So what do you think are the keys then to building that personal brand and finding the right message online? Let's stick with LinkedIn since we're headed down that road right now anyway. What are the mistakes that you see people making when it comes to establishing that brand online, and like 3 key things that they can put into play today to start?
So I think the first major one too is you can't force the personal brand. It has to organically be created. The backstory on my personal brand, hashtag Where's Harb, that was created because people said that to me all the time because I have many mantras in my life. And one of my ones is everywhere, all the time, always, the way that I live, right? I'm a road warrior. I'm always at stuff. I'll do 3 or 4 events in a day. And people are like, man, where are you going to be next? Where's Harvard going to be next? And I was like, hey, I kind of like that. People have been saying that a lot. So, think about like what you're doing and like what people are saying. Like it can really lead to building that brand. I think the other thing is too, is your brand a professional brand? Or is it who you are as your personality? So that's a big difference as well.
Is there some crossover?
They can definitely blend together, but I think you need to establish, like, is this going to be a business brand? Is this going to be like, am I going to be like the guy who cooks in my kitchen every day and
Yeah.
that's my personal brand? Or am I, a biz dev guy who is creating awareness of my company, which is more of
Yeah.
my stuff, but my stuff is kind of mixed together now too, in a kind of a 70-30 kind of pot.
Got it. Okay.
And I think one of the things that people have problems with is that they hear a personal brand and they're already just like frozen in place,
Yeah.
right?
Oh my gosh. Do I have to share like, that my kid, I don't know, had a
Whatever
meltdown
it is.
today at Target, like that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
So I think part of it is understanding this is, you need to figure out what and how you're going to push that messaging out. It is important to create your own hashtags because then you can filter through your own stuff. But remember, no one's going to look for your hashtags. That
Yeah.
hashtag that's oriented with your personal brand is going to be just a low and slow build up so people can find it after you kind of establish
After you've
the brand
established
itself.
a connection. Right. Okay.
Correct. I mean, it took me 5 years to kind of get my brand on the map. So now
Yeah.
when you look up hashtag where's Harp, there's a bunch of stuff on different platforms, but in month 6, it was just me by myself
Right.
and there was nothing else. And now people use it.
Yeah.
So I think that's one. I think two is it's understanding, again, it sounds a lot of the same stuff, but it's understanding who the audience is. Very important to understand where some brands work better on Facebook than they do on Instagram than they do on LinkedIn. I think that's part of it too. And I think the third thing really is understanding that it takes time to develop these brands. It takes time to really push them out there. And you really have to establish, why you're doing it. And I think people kind of overlook that. They just want to create a personal brand and go, but like, why are you actually creating this brand? And once you figure out like why it's a thing, then you'll have more fun with it. It'll become more organic and it'll continue to grow when you're living in the comments.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Why? How do you figure out the why? And I know it sounds very basic,
Yeah,
but
no, it's not though.
it's not. And there are a lot of products and there's a lot of failed businesses out there that will tell you we didn't figure out who we were talking to and why we were talking to them. How do you figure that out?
Yeah, and I think for me, it was another slow organic thing. I mean,
Yeah.
originally the brand started off because I was doing 80 hours a week, 8 days a week for 10 years, right?
Mhm.
Then I retired from my gig, and then I went to a 40-hour job week, and now I had all this time, and I
Yeah.
was just like, what am I doing? And I kind of just wanted to establish myself, as a presence online to kind of, I'm not trying to be, a global influencer. I'm trying to be a nano influencer. Like I want to be
Yeah.
relevant in the Philadelphia, South Jersey, Delaware, maybe a little bit of New York area. Like that's great for me. Like I don't need any more than that. In order to do that, you need to have people remember you. I mean, that's really the key to it all. Like if you're just insurance person X or, salesperson Y, you're going to get lost in the shuffle. For me, this is the third iteration of companies that I've been with where my brand has followed me with me and people know who I am. So when I change my banners and I change my stuff, my personal branding is still integrated into that as well. So people are now curious on who I am and where I'm at and what's going on. So the why for me is really establishing myself
Yeah.
to be relevant in the audience, in the surroundings of my area that I want to stay, well known. And what's
Right.
great about it is that the brand changes over time. So originally it was just kind of, I'm a designer by trade, so I just like to create stuff and I wanted to make something that was me. And then it kind of turned into like, oh, I'm at events all the time and this is just what people say. But
Mhm.
now it's turned into a whole other thing over the last 18 months. And now it's, I do LinkedIn stuff. Like this is really where my passion is. I like to help people grow their stuff organically through LinkedIn, not having to pay any money for anything, right?
Yeah.
Finding the right people, getting in front of the right audiences, integrating the marketing and branding side of LinkedIn, that people I think overlook on stuff. So now it's kind of changed and morphed. So, it's all about, we say it all the time, right? Adapt or die is the name of the game. And that's kind of where it is. And so the why for me is initially creating that awareness. And I think that's kind of where it starts for everybody. You want to create some awareness for yourself, and you want to have fun with your personal brand. And I
Mhm.
think what happens is that it becomes stale and dull, or you're putting out content that nobody's reacting to, or you're losing like audience. Then you have to kind of adapt a little bit and change it, right? Go back and look at the last 6 months of the content that you put out and see what's done very well. And then be like, all right, well, I did this 3-minute video. It did really well. I said 10 things in that video. I can take those 10 things out and I can do one video that's
Yeah.
that same style of video, and like let's mess with this a little bit and see how this does.
What is your thought on the demographic for Facebook? You mentioned like if I'm on, if I'm at a restaurant and here's the 3 platforms I'm on, Facebook is going to be the one where I take a picture of me and my friends around the
Yeah.
table or whatever. Is there a prime demo for Facebook? Is it older? Is it changing? Like, what are your?
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Facebook, maybe when Instagram, like when there was that mass exodus off of Facebook onto Instagram, and the
Mhm.
younger kids were going over there, and then all the older Gen X and the baby boomers were kind of hanging out on Facebook.
Mhm.
That has really changed. I mean,
Yeah.
the millennials are living on Facebook right now too. I mean, 30% of Facebook traffic is marketplace, first off.
Yeah.
So think
Yeah.
about that. That's why
Mhm.
marketplace has not been like pulled off of Facebook and made its own app, right? Because you
Yeah.
have to go onto Facebook to do it. The other thing that I've been seeing that's really kind of been crazy is that there is this weird line between like LinkedIn and Facebook friends. And like your
Okay.
Facebook friends were this and your LinkedIn people were this. Now, what I've seen over the last like 2 years or so, 3 years, is that LinkedIn people that you do business with and all that are now friending you on Facebook,
Yes, absolutely.
which is wildness. So
Yeah.
there was this weird, like, no, we keep it separate, but now everybody is going together. So, you can kind of create the same messaging on LinkedIn and Facebook and get a better response on Facebook with the same people that would most likely like your stuff on
Yeah.
LinkedIn then.
I think there's a sense, and maybe it's a little bit dependent upon the age bracket, et cetera, but there is a sense of maybe a little bit more freedom on Facebook. There's
Yeah.
still some stoicism perhaps attached to LinkedIn,
Yeah.
whereas Facebook, there's a little more of the ability to feel a little more free, perhaps with what you post or the things that you say. Nevertheless, that personal connection is still a key part of how business is done and how business connections and networking are established.
Well, I think what we're seeing is that Facebook is creating a more robust personality of who people are
Yeah.
on the platform, right? So LinkedIn is fun and this is who I am. But on Facebook, let's be honest. If I'm on LinkedIn, I don't want to see your kid's first day of school. I don't care. I don't care about how you lean in politics or anything like
Yeah.
this. But
Yeah.
Facebook is still crazy. So like remember, like when you're friending all these people that are your LinkedIn connections,
Mhm.
you got to kind of monitor what you're saying on
Yeah.
Facebook because you might lose business. That's the slippery slope that we're on now.
Mhm.
But I see posts of people that will post the same thing on Facebook and the same thing on LinkedIn. LinkedIn does very well and Facebook does great because there's just more interaction on
Yeah.
Facebook. LinkedIn is more of a 9 to 5 thing. Facebook is just a flip it on for a minute or a minute and a half and run through. And people also are learning that you can unfollow people on Facebook now more than ever. So
Yeah.
people's feeds are more precise on what they want to
More
see on the
curated.
platform and curate it. Exactly. I never really unfriend people. I just kind of unfollow people because
Yeah.
I want that messaging that I'm putting out on Facebook to be seen by all those people. It's just
Right.
more people to see. And that's really what it comes down to. But there is this weird thing where the business community is friending each other on Facebook. And it is wild. It is very
Mhm.
wild. People that I'm kind of just like acquaintances with that I see at like random like events are now like, oh, we should be Facebook friends. And I'm like,
Yep.
what is
I thought
happening?
Facebook was dead. It's
No,
not.
it's not. Facebook is not dead. I mean,
It is not.
it's clunky, but it's not dead.
No, it's going to be around for a while in various iterations of
Absolutely.
it and meta, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, it's crazy too. I mean, like part of it, I think what people don't realize is that Facebook group that you have, like, or that Facebook like network that you have,
Mhm.
there's a lot of opportunities for you to shine your personal brand within those, especially when you're trying to get into certain stuff. So in my space, we're accounting and finance. So like I'm placing people in jobs and working with companies that are looking for accounting and finance positions. I can go on Facebook and there are the Philadelphia Accountants and Finance group. So I can join that group on Facebook and live in that, and then go back to what we were talking about before, live in the comments, go through this, and then work the opposite side of the rail where I'm going to find out the people that are relevant, maybe that are CFOs or controllers in companies, and then find them, like comment and share all their stuff and like, and maybe have a conversation with them on Facebook, and then go to LinkedIn and friend them on LinkedIn.
There
Which I
you
think is
go.
opportunities that people are missing out on. That cross contamination is coming one way, but it can also go the other way as well.
Yeah. Yeah. The other side of the same coin, the flip side of the same
Don't
coin.
sleep on the Facebook groups because the
Yeah.
audience that you're trying to get in front of, there's probably a group for it.
Oh, search groups in Facebook, and I guarantee no
It's
matter
wild.
how niche you are, you'll find a spot.
It doesn't matter.
Well, Brian, it has been awesome talking with you. Tons of information about the different platforms, how to establish branding, how to figure out who your audience is, and how to talk to them. Where should people find you if they're interested in
Sure.
working with you, if they're interested in finding out more about your business? Is there a freebie or an offer or something that you want to give people?
Yeah, sure. So the best place to find me, we can connect on LinkedIn. Just Ryan Harbison on LinkedIn. So please shoot me over some stuff. I have tons of other info and podcasts that I've done throughout my career on YouTube. So just youtube.com/@where's Harb. And on any of the platforms that you're at, check me out. #Where's Harb. Check me out.
Fantastic. Brian, thank you so much.
I appreciate the time. This is great.